Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard this morning as we get set up for what is to be a big day in Canadian hockey, Hockey Day in Canada. I have some friends heading out to Canmore, looking forward to seeing what they have to say about the big 25th anniversary celebration out there in Canmore. But of course, for the Edmonton Oilers, we've still got a hockey game today. And don't forget, the Oilers made some news yesterday, and there is a big bit of news. I know I did that video kind of talking about how you can never guarantee anything in life, and that even applies to the Connor McDavid next contract. Well, I've got a little something in this video from Frank Seravalli, and it's not the Oilers Nation thing. It is a little something else that very well will guarantee the Oilers should be just fine signing every which contract here going forward. So if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Would love to have you aboard. Some people would tell you it's not worth it. Some people would tell you it is worth it. I don't know what to tell you. It's just make up your own mind. And if you want to, go ahead here on a Saturday morning. So what we have here is obviously yesterday's news, which was John Klingberg signing with the Edmonton Oilers. What we understand is that he will get a practice under him, I think, whether it be today or in a few days. And then the Oilers will gauge his readiness from there. I did throw out to Reed Wilkins on the Reed Wilkins show. In the message chat there on the nasty chat over on EST, tried to ask basically if there was any plans for John Klingberg to possibly be down in Bakersfield for a conditioning stint. Unfortunately, I didn't get the rest of the time to stay tuned in to be able to do that. Nature of work, but yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what goes on with John Klingberg here. I would say this is going to be an evolving story, but again, for the Oilers, a guy who's capable of producing points, and maybe a guy as well who's capable of giving Bouchard some advice on the back end on the power play. I don't know. Obviously, Bouchard hasn't quite been as effective as last year, maybe at times on the power play. So be interesting to see what Klingberg can add for the Oilers on the right side. Maybe a guy just to alleviate the stress even at times on Bouchard to be the only point producing right shot defenseman we've got, right? Emerson lucks into some points, Stetcher lucks into some points, but based on pure skill and pure talent when it comes to scoring points on the right side, it is Evan Bouchard. Now you're going to sit here and tell me, why aren't you talking about defending? Well, John Klingberg ain't that guy. We know that, and that's fine. And very well, John Klingberg might come in and play better than he has over the past few years. We know that was kind of the case for Sam Gagner after hip resurfacing or whatever he went through there. Double hip, was it? I want to say something else. But definitely Sam Gagner came back and had a pretty good, strong stretch there for the Oilers in limited time last year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see John Klingberg be better than he has been lately. But I wouldn't sit here and say he's going to solve our problem on the right side when we need that big, mean, tough, physical defenseman, kind of the Matthias Ekholm prototype, but on the right side. So alongside Darnell Nurse, well, not just alongside him, Bouchard. So that would be that, and I think that's pretty cut and clear. There's not much. There is some salary cap implications. The Oilers against the cap, as long as they're under the cap, will only pay about $894 or something for John Klingberg, because this is kind of similar to what happened a few years ago with Evander Kane. So keep that in mind. I really just I missed a lot of the details, but the biggest detail is John Klingberg is an Edmonton Oiler. So this one from Frank Seravalli, again, I'll let you read it for a brief second before I read it to you. But this is where I draw into that Connor McDavid conversation. This is an update that I think a lot of folks pertaining to the salary cap, pertaining to kind of big contracts coming up, are looking forward to seeing and looking forward to needing. Because for the Edmonton Oilers, obviously we've got Bouchard, we've got McDavid, we've got a ton of situations happening here when it comes to big contracts coming up. And by the way, Draisaitl counting against the cap. Now, if you had a brief moment to look at that tweet from Frank Seravalli, it really goes in to talk about escrow and HRR in the NHL, and you're going to ask me, what does all that mean? What does it mean for the salary cap? Why are you talking about it? This seems dumb. Well, this is more or less the accounting and the, as Frank Seravalli likens it to, the taxes of the NHL. instituted by the organization itself, not necessarily by the governments. But basically, for this, if you read this out, and I'll read it to you now, NHL players have been notified escrow withholding from checks will be terminated for the remainder of this season, starting with January 30th payroll run. Revenue projections indicate amount already withheld will also be returned in full following final season accounting. Related, final 2023-2024 accounting of HRR has not been settled, but players are projected to receive full 6% back plus an additional 1.5 to 2% on top of that. In other words, players will be paid 101.5 to 102% of their published salaries from last season because team owners collected more than their share of the 50-50 split. Think of it like paying your taxes. If you're getting a refund, that means you're giving the government an interest-free loan. Big time advice from Frank here, by the way. Everybody thinks they're getting a deal come tax time. You're not. In this case, LEG formula has created an environment where salary cap is, by design, artificially low, and players are underpaid relative to revenue being collected. So that last line, all of this, the first bunch is, a lot of people will say the rich get richer and all those guys get paid too much to play hockey. Fine dandy, don't care. That last little bit, that last sentence from Frank is so pivotal to what's going to happen here in Edmonton over the next little bit. Is obviously the acknowledgement that the salary cap is artificially low. We already know that, but you then take into account everything else that's happening on top. The NHL revenues have, I don't think in a long while, have ever been better. And that just means the salary cap, which we already knew was going up 4 million probably this year, is likely. And I mean, here's the thing. We've heard chatter that it could go up more. This, I think, in my estimation, I don't know much about the actual salary cap inflation math, but this body of text right here is the body of text that makes me believe we are going to see a huge increase, not only over this year, but next year as well, if everything maintains course here for the business that is the NHL. So that, my friends, is huge news because, again, I think the only real concern for Connor at the end of the day is winning here in Edmonton. And if that's not viable, then that's where the whole guarantee thing kind of came in. Again, now I think you wash that away. You just sit here and don't even worry about it because the money is going to be here to keep everybody here who is winning here, right? That's what I mean, is the money for free agents will be there. The money to win will be here. The money to keep Bouchard, the money to make McDavid work, the money to make everything work when three guys are taking up 40% of your salary cap, because they won't be. That's the thing. If the salary cap increases substantially over the next 2 years, those guys will only account for about 35% of the salary cap. And my goodness, rock and roll away if that's the case when it comes to Bouchard, McDavid, and of course Draisaitl. So yeah, no, this is looking good. That Nurse contract's about to look like a little bit of a deal here finally, which was ultimately how it was designed to be at the start. Nobody could account for what happened over the course of a few years there, but obviously the NHL looks like they're fully back on track and exceeding the track. In fact, they're flying a little bit here. So, friends, thanks for being aboard this morning. Looking forward to talking Oilers with you later on tonight. I am up on out of here.